It's interesting how often we think about the past, isn't it? The stories we tell ourselves about what happened, about who we are, who we were, and who others believe we are. It can sometimes be so strong, so vivid. They feel like they're written in stone, unchangeable and permanent. You might even find that, despite the best intentions, those past actions seem to follow you, like shadows that never quite fade, no matter how far you walk. And yet shadows only exist because there's something to cast them. What if the shadow you see is not the truth, but merely a perception, a limited view of something far bigger, something far deeper than what you once experienced? Have you ever noticed how sometimes, when you're looking at a picture or a memory, it seems so much more intense, so much more real, because you're focusing on the one tiny detail, one small part of the whole thing, as if that is all there is to it? What if the past, those mistakes, those things you think define you, they're just pieces of the story, moments that have already come and gone? What if instead of letting them define you, you choose to see those moments for what they were, just moments in time, lessons learned, experiences that brought you to this very point, this very moment where you can take a step forward into something entirely new? And yet, I can almost hear you wondering, what about those who might judge? Those who might look at the past, at those small pieces of your story, and say, that's all they need to know. Isn't it true, sometimes people hold on to their own stories, their own judgments, their own misunderstandings about the past? But isn't it also true that what others see or think isn't necessarily the whole story either? So imagine for a moment that every time someone judges you, they're simply looking at the same picture through their own lens, their own life experiences, and they only see what their mind wants them to see. The lens, you see, can be changed. The perspective can shift. And sometimes the lens of judgment isn't as strong as the lens of understanding and empathy. You see, what if the truth about who you are isn't something that's tied to your past? What if, in fact, you're truly not defined by any single moment, not by any single story, but by everything that's possible right now? Isn't it possible that you can release the hold of the past by realizing that it was simply a chapter, a page you've already turned? The past doesn't have to control you. It doesn't have to define you. It doesn't even have to be a part of your future unless you choose for it to be. And if you were to allow yourself, just for a moment, to consider that possibility, that you could simply let go of the past, of those fears, of those judgments, what might open up for you? What new possibilities, new connections, new friendships might unfold when you allow yourself to simply be who you are today, free of the chains of yesterday? Wouldn't that feel like breathing fresh air after being trapped in a room for far too long? And when you start to feel that shift, just a tiny bit of relief, that gentle realization that you're not bound by what happened, you're not trapped by what others think, how does that change your perspective? How does that change the way you view yourself? What if, instead of fearing judgment, you stepped into the world with curiosity, with openness, with the knowledge that you can't control what others think, but you can choose what to believe about yourself? And when you choose to believe that the past has no power over you, when you choose to see yourself not through the lens of the past, but through the lens of possibility, what would that do to the way that you interact with the world? How might it feel to look at someone and not feel the weight of judgment, but instead to feel light, to feel free, to feel like you're enough? Perhaps the very act of letting go of the idea that your past must define your future, could be the most liberating thing you've ever done. So imagine just for a moment, feeling that weight lifting from your shoulders, feeling the freedom to connect with others without fear, to be seen for who you truly are, not as the person who made mistakes, but as the person who's learned, grown, and is constantly evolving. Now just take a moment and think about what is really true for you. Is it the mistakes of yesterday? Or is it the strength, the resilience, the wisdom you've gained through it all? What would it be like to walk into a room with your head held high, knowing that you're in control of your story, knowing that your past doesn't get to tell you who you are? How much easier might it be to connect, to make new friendships, to share who you are with others without the fear that your past will catch up to you? Because you see, the past will never be the thing that defines you unless you choose to let it. And when you stop choosing it, when you realize you're more than just your past, you'll begin to feel the freedom that comes with self-acceptance, with peace, with the realization that who you are today is the person you're meant to be. And when you choose to move forward, free of the past that you hold, you'll begin to notice how others start to see you differently, not through the lens of judgment, but through the lens of possibility, of connection, of understanding. And in that space, free of fear, free of judgment, what new doors might open? What new relationships might form? What new possibilities might you create? Just by embracing the truth that the past is gone. And you're not the sum of your mistakes, but the potential of your future. Because it's fascinating how we sometimes find ourselves holding on to certain thoughts, isn't it? Those thoughts, those beliefs, they can feel so real, like heavy stones in a backpack you've been carrying for a long time. Yet, what if you realized the very act of carrying those stones, holding on to that weight, was something that you learned to do a long time ago, and you no longer need to carry it? You see, it's perfectly natural for the mind to want to hold on to things, especially when it's been trained to believe that holding on to them is somehow necessary. But just like you don't need to hold onto a rock for it to be useful, after all, you can place it down, leave it behind, and walk without it. What if you could simply choose right now to set those thoughts down, to leave those beliefs behind, knowing they no longer serve you? So imagine for just a moment how it might feel if instead of fearing judgment or criticism from others, you felt a deep sense of calm within yourself. A calm that arises from knowing that your worth, it doesn't come from others' perceptions, but from the truth of who you are inside. And just think about how it might feel to let go of the worry. That feeling that the past is somehow stalking you, always just behind you, ready to remind you of the mistakes long gone. What if you could experience it differently? What if instead of the shadows of the past, you felt the warmth of your own potential shining from within, illuminating the way forward? What if you realized the past, that chapter, those old stories, was never truly the full story of who you are or who you can become? If you were to consider that just for a moment, what new possibilities would open up for you? Perhaps without even realizing it, you've been limiting yourself by holding on to something that wasn't even true anymore. It's as if you've been trying to navigate the present while constantly looking in the rearview mirror of your life, as though the only thing that matters is what's behind you. Think about it. How easy is it to move forward if your eyes are fixed on the past? Isn't that true? When you take your eyes off the rearview mirror and focus on the open road ahead, everything starts to become clearer, easier, and more exciting. What if the road ahead could stretch out in front of you, completely open and free, just waiting for you to step forward into it? Now imagine feeling that freedom, that relief, as you begin to release the old judgments, the ones that you might have carried for so long. And as you release them, something amazing starts to happen. Those fears, those feelings of being judged, of being held back by what others think, they start to fade little by little, almost as if they were never really that important in the first place. Can you feel the lightness, that sensation of freedom, as if you could walk with your head held high, your heart open, free from the weight of the past? And as you walk forward, what if you found people began to see you differently, not as someone defined by what happened before, but as someone who's constantly evolving, growing, learning from everything, and becoming more than ever before? What if, instead of being judged by your past, you became recognized for your present, for who you are now? You know, it's fascinating how your mind works. It loves to focus on things that seem most important to you in the moment. Yet the moment you shift your focus, even just a little bit, everything can start to feel different. The past doesn't have to be the anchor that weighs you down anymore. Instead, imagine seeing your past for what it truly is, a collection of experiences, each with its lesson, each with its story, each with its growth, and then imagining how you can step forward, taking those lessons, but no longer carrying the burden of them. What if you could learn to trust in your own capacity to connect with others, knowing, just like you, everyone has their own past, their own lessons, their own journey, and everyone is doing the best they can in each moment. Imagine knowing you're not the sum of your mistakes, but the sum of your ability to adapt, learn, and to grow. What would it feel like to trust that? As you open yourself up to new possibilities, others can see you for who you are now, what you can offer now, for the potential that's within you. And just think for a moment, what if the very act of deciding to move forward, of deciding to let go of the past's hold on you, was enough to create a shift in how others see you? What if instead of the judgments, there was simply curiosity about who you are today, curiosity about what you can offer in the present moment, curiosity about what new possibilities you can bring into the world every day? What if every time you made a choice to leave the past behind, you created space for new connections, new relationships, new friendships to blossom? What if in that space there was room for new experiences, new joys, and new opportunities? And what if with every step, the weight you carried for so long becomes lighter and lighter, until you barely remember it was there? What if, without realizing it, you could begin to feel a sense of freedom, a sense of ease, and a sense of acceptance, not just from others, but from yourself? Now imagine the feeling of walking into a room, feeling the lightness in your step, your shoulders relaxed, your heart open, and knowing that, regardless of what anyone else might think, you're already enough. You're worthy of connection. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of new friendships. And every day, in every way, you can feel the truth deeper and deeper. And as you continue to embrace this new way of being, this sense of freedom, this sense of possibility, you begin to notice how the world around you begins to reflect this change. People start to notice the way you carry yourself. They start to feel the ease with which you connect. They start to see the truth of who you are, not as a collection of past mistakes, but as a person who's constantly evolving, growing and moving forward with purpose, with intention, with grace. And in that space, in that place, your past becomes just that, past. And the future becomes wide open, full of all the potential that you can now embrace with ease, with confidence, with joy. You see, it was never about trying to escape your past. It was about realizing you have the power to rewrite your story, to embrace the truth of who you are today, and to step forward into a future that's as bright and as open as you're willing to make it. And as you begin to take those steps, just one after another, you'll find the world begins to open up in ways you never imagined possible. And you'll know deep inside that the past, it doesn't get to define you anymore, because you're the one in control. You're the one who chooses every single day to step into the future with strength, with confidence, and with the unshakable belief that you're worthy of everything that lies ahead. And as that belief deepens, everything around you shifts, because when you believe in your own potential, others will begin to see it too.